Welcome to the garden. It is very thoroughly fall here. All the growth has slowed down. Things are starting to look pretty tired. We have sort of had a frost. Nearly everything is ready to call it quits for the season, but there are quite a few jobs still left to do in the garden. So here in the lower garden where I have my raised beds, I have my greenhouse and a few in-ground rows behind that. There are actually some exciting new things that have just popped up within the last 2 weeks. So this bed right behind me is one of my favorites. I've had straw flowers and calendula here blooming for most of the summer, but underneath all that, I have a couple of dozen saffron crocus corms planted. They bloom in the fall. These look just like crocuses that bloom in the spring, but I'm going to sacrifice the petals so that I can pull out the stamen, which is the orange part in the middle, and that right there is your saffron. There's 3 separate ones. They're connected at the bottom. You don't generally want that yellow part that I'm holding on to, so we'll cut that off right about there. But there you have it. The most expensive spice in the world, planted into my Zone 6 garden. And once you plant them, it takes little to no effort to keep these going. These will actually be ready to divide next year. So here's one that is just starting to open. This is a better stage to be harvesting these at for sure. They're nice and fresh. There. So I did bring a container out here with me. I knew I would have straw flowers to pick, and that's actually the reason I haven't ripped these out yet. I would normally have cut everything down to the ground by now, but I still have straw flowers. I'm not cutting them with the stems. I just want the flower heads, but they're still blooming, so I haven't had the heart to pull them out. But now that we have saffron coming, I think it's time. There we go. We're going to get the rest of these out of here. So I am picking everything, including these tiny little buds. And I'll just pull off the leaves that are covering the bud. And they're pretty closed now, but I usually find that at least one row of petals will pop open a little bit, giving it that classic straw flower shape. And I'm using these inside glass Christmas ornaments. So that's it. That's likely to be my last straw flower harvest of the year. Even the feverfew is still going, and these stems are only about a foot long at the most. There are 2 varieties of which I can't think of the names of them right now, but I'm loving this fluffy little white one. And then this one I do remember is Magic Lime Green. It dries really nicely, holds its color, and holds its shape better than the other one. Weeding is by far the job that I try to keep on top of the most this time of year, because coming out in the spring when you're all excited to plant things, Blue jays are awfully pretty, but they make a giant racket. Do you mind? He does mind. You don't want to weed in the spring. I don't really want to weed in the fall either. It's cold, but I have been, and I will be doing a lot more of it in the coming days because it's supposed to be very warm and sunny. So I will want to be outside more than I have the last couple of weeks. So we are here now at the upper garden, which has mostly been emptied, but now that we've had a frost, the rest of it pretty much has to go. But the strange thing is, the grass was crispy 20 feet that way, but my basil has not been killed, and basil is probably the most tender thing I'm growing in this garden, so the frost must have been really patchy. So I think I'm going to grab what's still usable of that basil and bring it in, because I'll be really happy to have that over the next couple of days. And if we've had one frost, we're likely to get another one really soon. And once I clear all these beds, I'm going to spread a good couple inches of compost, and then I am going to tarp these beds for the winter. I cover these with tarps for a couple of reasons. It keeps the beds from getting really waterlogged. We tend to get pretty heavy snow cover some winters, and it's common to get heavy rains in the fall and the spring as well. It's also going to keep the soil a little bit warmer, and keeping the soil warmer is going to help thaw out the soil in the spring because our ground does tend to freeze solid for 3 to 4 months out of the year. And all of that means that I'll be able to plant out earlier in the spring. Oh, I have to pick these too. These gomphrenas will also go in my Christmas ornaments. Oops. Found a little bit of amobium too. This is a little bit strange because I swear we got a frost, but nothing seems to be particularly bothered by it. And my dahlias are fine. Look at these. This foliage is not touched at all. That bloom is a little bit older. There's still some newer buds. Look at that one. I love this yellow dahlia. It's a perfect size. I think they call this a water lily form. This one I'm pretty sure is Boom Boom White. The Cafe au Laits didn't do great this year, and they have no pink in them at all. Maybe I'm wrong about this being a Cafe au Lait, but they were much bigger than this earlier on in the season. There is no frost damage on that whatsoever. So that is what has been happening around here. We are full on weeding. We're going to spread some compost. We're going to plant 1,000 tulips, literally, a couple hundred daffodils. We need to plant garlic. I'm going to renovate the floor of the greenhouse. I haven't done that yet, but that's going to come in a couple of weeks. And I'm also going to share my complete bulb order. I had 9 crates of bulbs delivered last week, but I'm going to share all that with you guys fairly shortly. So thank you for joining me here in the garden today, and I will see you next time.